All right. So welcome to class number 5 of Shara Yuchud with explanations by Reb Hillel of Paret. So there was a question, so I just want to clarify that anybody who's on the WhatsApp group, and we really encourage people to join the WhatsApp group if you haven't, that there's a link in the description of the WhatsApp group to the Google Drive. And in the Google Drive, you'll find the Hebrew text, you'll find the English translation, you'll find all the recordings, and also a few other documents that we're developing, like a Hebrew vocabulary. So please make sure that you are going to the Google Drive. And I really want to encourage anybody who has any access to Hebrew to really try to look at the Hebrew text, because in many ways it makes it easier to learn. You have to put in more effort because it's Hebrew, but it's kind of written in a code that makes it easier in some ways, because Hebrew is kind of a code language. Okay, so I just want to say one announcement, which we all know next week is Purim on Sunday, so we're not going to have a class. So we'll meet the following Sunday, which is March 31st. And by then, Israel will have taken on daylight saving. So in Israel, the class will go back to being from 5 to 6:30. But in South Africa, it remains from 4 to 5:30, for the rest of for the duration. So today we're going to learn about the Omek of Chochma, and you can find it on page 21 of the English text and page 300 of the Hebrew text. And this class is Omek of Chochma, the paragraph that speaks about Omek of Chochma, is a little bit longer than what we used to. So we're going to take 2 classes to look at the Omek of Chochma. But instead of breaking up the paragraph into 2 sections, what we want to do is we want to cover the whole of the paragraph in this class and then repeat it again in the next class. So in this class, we're not going to go into so much detail, but we want you to get like the bird's eye view, the whole view of Omek of Chochma. Because what he does in this paragraph is he tells us about what is Omek of Chochma, and then he gives us a Mashal. And the Mashal really puts it all together. So we want to go through the whole paragraph, but we will not go into so much detail. And the next time we meet, we'll go deeper into all the details. Okay, so before we do that, just want to do a quick review of what we learned last week, which was the Omek, just to refresh, just to kind of refresh everybody's memory. And why is it not coming up? One moment. Here we go. So what I'm going to show you, just for a review, do you see that? It's a hand-drawn mind map. So first of all, with the Omek, we had the definition. The definition is that the Omek is not a mahut, it's not an entity, or it's not an existence. It just connects between 2 entities. Machaber connects. And the Omek is an ayin. Okay, so what does that mean? So he gave us 3 examples, an example in space, an example in time, and a more spiritual example. So the example in space was a corner, which is the ayin, where the south and east walls meet. The example in time was dusk, which is the intersection between day and night. And then there was this more spiritual example of a teacher and a pupil, Mashpia and Makabel. And we'll see that this example of the teacher and the pupil is something that comes up a lot in Hasidic teachings. And so I want to have a look at that in a little bit more detail. Let's see, I'm going to stop sharing. And I want to share something else here. Because we'll see then when we come to look at the Omek of Chochma. Okay, what are you seeing here? So the details here that are going to come up in the Omek of Chochma. So I want you to just see what I call the codes. So here we have the Omek, which is the ayin of the Mashpia and the Makabel. Both the Mashpia, the giver, and the Makabel, the receiver, need to have an Omek, need to have an ayin. But the ayin in the teacher is different than the ayin in the Makabel. So in the teacher, the Mashpia, Rav, Mashpia, he has to set aside or reduce hanachat. That's the Hebrew code word that he uses for what the teacher has to do to reduce the spiritual light of his intellect, or sichlo haruchni. The spiritual light of, he has this huge spiritual light, he has to reduce it or set it aside, hanachat, in order to measure it for the vessel of the student. And then we have the process within the student, the Talmid or the Makabel, and he has to nullify and suppress or desolate bitul v'shimamon. Shimamon is literally like a desert. So the bitul is always a difficult word, and we discover what it means as we go along. I feel that in this context, when I think about it, I feel like it's a willingness to receive. There first has to be a willingness to receive from somebody. And then you have to put aside your current understanding. You have to desolate the coarse intellect. Sichlo, hamagosham. So these are the differences between the two. The Makabel has an intellect that it's not so refined. And in order to receive something new from the Mashpia, he has to bitul v'shimamon, sichlu hamagosham. He has to nullify and put aside his current understanding in order to really receive something new. So I want you to just look at these words, hanachat, bitul v'shimamon. These are kind of code words that Reb Hillel uses to describe the process that needs to happen in the teacher and needs to happen in the student in order for there to be a meeting point between the teacher and the student. And he says there as well that what is the most important? Is it the ayin of the Mashpia or is it the ayin of the Makabel? It's the ayin of the Makabel, because the ayin of the Makabel is what will allow the information to be received. That's the most important, is that the person who is receiving really makes a space. Okay, so that's basically the Omek.
Can I ask something? Why aren't we talking about aren't we mostly talking about the Makabel receiving information? And like, why do we need to go into the Omek of the teacher?
So when we look at the Omek of Chochma, we'll understand why. Mm-hmm. And also we'll understand what happens between the two. like what makes the teacher really inspired to make that iron inside of himself. So, Devorah, it's a good question, and I want you to hold the question because you're going to get an answer. All right. All right. So now let's go on to, I just want to give you a little bit of a preview of the Omek of Chochma so that when we go into the details of the actual text, you have some kind of context for it. So let's see how to talk about it. So far, I mean, I guess we should have an understanding by now that there's a certain physicality in our brain that corresponds to these concepts. So we've talked about the fact that the skull is the place where the Ratzon resides. And we've spoken about the three brains, the right brain, the Chochma brain, the left brain, the Bina brain, and the middle brain, which is the Dat. Now, we're going to go deeper here. What happens is that around these three brains is a membrane. And between the membrane that surrounds and protects these three brains and the skull, there is a space. And now the question that we're going to ask ourselves is really, when you have, and I'm sure you've all had this, you have a flash of insight, like you're working on a project or you're thinking about a problem, and suddenly, it's like as in the comic books, they do like a light bulb. The light bulb goes off, right? And you suddenly get an idea and you see it in its fullness, and you go like, wow, where did that come from? It's like it just flashed into your brain. And then also, if you don't write it down or put it into something practical, it can go away. But the moment that you have it, it's so clear to you that you think it'll never go away, because it's really the way that it's described in Chassidut is it's like a flash of lightning, Barak HaMavrik. It lights, in the darkness of a storm, suddenly you have this lightning and you see everything around you, and then the lightning goes away. Everybody's had this experience where suddenly you have a flash of insight. I'm sure you've had it. So where does this come from? That flash of insight we're going to learn comes into the right brain, into the Chochma brain. But where does it come from? So what we're going to explore here with the way that Chochma works, and specifically the Omek of Chochma, is that there's something above Chochma. It's called like the hidden brain. And it's in the space between the membrane and the skull. And in Hebrew, or in this context, it's called in Hasidic language, it's called lachluchit. It's the spiritual moisture. Perhaps it's the cerebrospinal fluid or the subdural fluid, but here we talk about it as the spiritual moisture that's between the skull and the membrane that surrounds the brain. And it's known as the Koach HaMaskil, the potential, the power of conceptualization. And now we will learn, Devorah, why we need to know what is the meeting point between the Chochma brain and this Koach HaMaskil. How does the insight go from this Koach HaMaskil, which is called a hiyuli. A hiyuli means that it has endless potential. I remember when we were learning, I don't know if you remember this, but the way Hiyuli actually, if I remember correctly, is a Greek word, actually. It's not a Hebrew word, but it's borrowed in Hasidic language. And the mashal that I was given was that a Hiyuli is like a ball of clay. So you look at a ball of clay, it has endless potential. You can make from it a bowl or a stat or like a little, you can make like a model of a person, or like there's endless potential in what you can do with it. So the Koach HaMaskil has endless potential. I don't know whether you can say these days that a mashal, a mashal would be like the internet, like the World Wide Web. What would you say, Mila? That you then choose what to, I mean, it's a little bit off, but
I'll tell you what it is. Regarding the clay, it's still something about the clay. So it's not endless. It's everything what you could make out of clay, right? The Koach HaMaskil, one of the Mashalim that are given, Flintstone. The Flintstone can be immersed on the bottom of the ocean for thousands of years. You take it out, you give it a strike, and it gives fire. So it gives something which you would never think of it could potentially give, right? I mean, a Flintstone sitting in water in complete wetness has nothing to do with fire. Not only nothing to do with fire, it's exactly the opposite of fire. And yet, when it's striking, it has a potential to give fire. So it's a higher level of potential. Even within the potential, there's a level of clay that you could do anything, but yet it limited to a clay, whatever you could do from clay. Clay can never become a metal, right? So,
right.
Yeah. So a higher dimension of within the potential, it's when anything can come out of it, in literal sense, anything. And this is what Hayuli is. The Yuli, Koach Hayuli, is the potential that anything could come out of it. Okay. So let's dive into, I think we have.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's dive into text. It definitely will give us anything, by the way, if anybody has any issues with a text or they don't understand a particular word, the meaning of it, please mention this. Okay. So, again, oh, here we go, spotlight. Okay. Everybody could see the text? Yeah? Okay.
Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Sure. I just need to find out how. Is it bigger now? Yeah, you see it bigger or no? Yeah? Okay, great. Okay. So we, look through the Omek, and now instead, we're going to be applying the same concept that we learned about the Omek to the Omek of Chochma. And one of the great things about it is that when we will understand a pattern, that the same concept is going to be very similar between the Omek of Bina and in the Omek of Das as well. Okay, so don't feel discouraged. If you understand how Omek works, so then you'll be able to see how that Omek actually happens in all of the Seder Ishtalshalos. It's the same pattern. Okay. So it's very, very organized. Okay. Ubeze Yuvan, we are right here. We are in left viewer, and we're going to be going with this. Ubeze Yuvan, Inyan HaOmek de Chochma. And with this, we will understand the idea of the Omek of the Chochma. Kihine afal pi, and here, even though shebechinas hachochma hu bechinas hamashpia, yeah, we all know about Chochma in relationship to Bina constantly being the mashpia. And if we really look throughout, most of the Chassidus, that's how we perceive Chochma. Chochma is the mashpia, and Bina is the receiver, right? Is a bechinas ha-chochma legabe bechinas ha-bina, mikol makom u bechinas mekabel legabe lemala min ha-chochma, hanikra maskil. At the same time, we need to understand that Chochma receives from something, from some entity, and that entity is called maskil. And now the Chochma is actually a mekabel compared to something which is above Chochma, and it's called maskil. V'hine Koach HaMaskil hu hashura b'lachluchis haruchnis shebemoach hasatum. And here, Koach HaMaskil dwells, okay, in the wetness, in the spiritual wetness. Now, when we're talking about in this context, spiritual or physical, we really mean, the word ruchni means refined. It doesn't mean that if you open the skull, there is no wetness there. There is wetness. There's a physical wetness. However, the matter in this physical wetness is much more refined than in any other place of the brain. Okay, and therefore, when they do operate on the brain, they do consider this, and they take cautious measures regarding it. Anyway, so and he says that this is a concealed brain. In the concealed brain, where is it? It's shelemala mikrumius hamakifim legimel moichin. Okay, this is in the membranes that surround to 3 brains, which is called Chabad. Okay, so let's just go over it. Koach HaMaskil dwells, any power of the neshama dwells in a physical part of our body. It's a known thing. For example, we spoke about in the beginning in our first class about the hearing is understanding, right? The vision is the chochma. And we understand that the right brain, the left brain, all these are physical parts of our body where the spiritual powers of our soul dwell. So this is the place where Koach HaMaskil dwells. It's where? In the wetness above the membrane. Okay? Aval b'moach hayamin hagalui, but in the right revealed brain, right? And look over here. He says over here the word galui, and when he was speaking about Koach HaMaskil, he used the word satum, which is concealed, right? And the right brain is the revealed brain. Just keep that in mind. When we're going to be speaking about the Mashal, we will see how that corresponds with the Mashal and why Koach HaMaskil considered to be hidden versus Chochma being revealed. Okay, Hashura b'moach HaChochma. It dwells in the right brain is the brain of Chochma. Shu koach lekabel shefa mikoach HaMaskil haruchani. It has a power to receive from Koach HaMaskil. Okay, what is he receiving? V'hashefa mikoach HaMaskil haruchani betoch moach HaChochma. And the shefa that comes from Koach HaMaskil, shefa is a flow, right? So we want to really understand how that exactly happens, how Koach HaMaskil really reveals itself in the brain of Chochma. Okay, now the shefa from Koach HaMaskil into the brain of Chochma, letoch moach HaChochma, nimshach kabarak. It actually reveals itself like a lightning. Okay, what's lightning? Lightning usually happens, perfectly seen during the night. We see, a night sky, and the night sky is dark. Okay, meaning there is nothing there. There is no light there. And all of a sudden, we see a lightning. And that lightning, for that split second, illuminates the whole darkness. Okay, and this is the beauty of, or this is exactly how Chochma receives the shefa from Koach HaMaskil. It comes in exactly the same way. There's a darkness, and all of a sudden, there's a flash of Chochma. There's an illumination. There's an insight. And let's look a little bit deeper. V'hu inyan havrakas hasechel, and this is the idea of the flash of the seichel, the lightning of the intellect. Shui inyan reishis gilui haseichel b'moach. This is the beginning of the revelation of the intellect in the brain, in the physical brain. Before that, there was nothing happening in the right brain, specifically pertaining to that concept. There were other operations that were taking place, but specifically about that, there was nothing happening. Okay. Now, brackets, v'zeh nikra yud of Chochma. And this is called the yud of Chochma. We all know that in the letters of the name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Yud is Chochma, the Hey is Bina, the Vav are the 7 Mides, and the lower Hey is Malchus. I'm sorry, the 6 Mides, and the lower Hey is Malchus. So in this retrospect, the Yud in the name of Hashem corresponds to Chochma. Okay, and that's why he uses this expression, v'zenikra Yud of Chochma, Yud the Chochma. Ma she'enkin shefa zois, kasher hoisa klula b'koach HaMaskil. Now, let's look what happened a step before the revelation. This flow, the way it was included in a Koach HaMaskil, okay, it's called Pele, v'alef kmo she'izbar. So meaning within the Koach HaMaskil, this particular flow has 2 preceding levels to it. One is called Pele, right? And the other one is called Aleph. If we examine carefully the level of the Pele and Aleph, these are the same words, the same letters, right? They just changed. So we have Pele here, and then we have Aleph, kmo she'izbar, like it will be explained a little bit later. Now, what do we have now, right? We have Koach HaMaskil that dwells in the Krumis. Then we have the right brain, and the flash from the Koach HaMaskil to the right brain happens like the lightning. Now, having that information, we also know that within the Koach HaMaskil, there are 2 levels. Okay, there's a level of Pele and then the level of Aleph. Pele is a higher level than Aleph. Okay, and just going to give a little glimpse, not to leave you in darkness. What are these 2 levels? When we're talking about Koach HaMaskil is power to conceptualize any concept, in literal sense, any concept. Once it's going to be a concrete concept, let's say I want to write a book, and I don't know what the name of the book should be. I have a content, and I'm not sure that this book, or whatever that is, whatever that piece of text, I cannot find 2 or 3 words that's going to be fully describing the whole content of this book. And I'm contemplating on this. I'm thinking, I'm rereading my book, I'm re-editing it, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And as I am thinking about what the name should be, what it shouldn't be, what I really want to give off to, to the readers, and so on and so forth, and I'm thinking and rethinking and I'm working on the concept, Okay, all of a sudden, I go to sleep and I wake up, or I go to drink my coffee in a coffee shop and somebody will say something and an idea comes to me. I'm like, oh, yes, it's going to be this. Okay, now where this idea came from? This idea came from my Koach HaMaskil. Now, my Koach HaMaskil was able to conceptualize about anything, about the chemistry, about Chassidus, about how to cook, about how to fix my car, about how to educate my kids, you name it, like literally anything, any concept that there is in the world, my Koach HaMaskil has the power to conceptualize. And all of a sudden, at that given moment, it gave me one idea how to name my book. That's it. Or how to name a particular product that I want to, So for my Koach HaMaskil, that concrete description, which is 3 words, was a tzimtzum, was a huge tzimtzum, because it was endless possibilities what this could have been, what my Koach HaMaskil could have, downloaded to me. And yet it chose these 3 words. Okay, this is my Koach HaMaskil, doing tzimtzum. Okay, a lot of times we think about tzimtzum as, I don't know, as something like condensing, right? But truly, it doesn't have to be. The fact that we choose that particular spouse that we married and we close all the other doors, all the other possibilities, that's tzimtzum too. The fact that we go to the store and we choose that particular Danish versus any other Danishes that were there, that's a tzimtzum too, right? Anything that concrete versus unlimited is a tzimtzum. So now my Koach HaMaskil could have given me billions of billions, all kinds of ideas, but yet I'm getting this particular idea into my head. That's a tzimtzum, right? And let's read a few lines here. Umuchrach li is tzimtzum, and my Koach HaMaskil must give me must do tzimtzum. But or Koach HaMaskil aruchani, in the light of the Koach HaMaskil, which is spiritual, liyois shuhu koach hayuli, because this is the power of Yuli, and lahaskil le'ein shiur. It could conceptualize for unlimited. It's literally unlimited. And therefore it must do tzimtzum, shehu b'bchinas hanachas atzmusay. Remember, in Neriya's, it was hanachas is the same thing. It's removing its essence. But what is the essence of Koach HaMaskil? Being unlimited. This is the essence of Koach HaMaskil. Now it has to be limited specifically to this. It could be anything. Let's say you, I don't know, you're learning how to cook, how to bake, that Napoleon, right? And you're trying different recipes and you're working or whatever that is. Or let's say you want to fix your car, or you're working on, I don't know, on a chemistry project, you name it. Or like what we're doing now, right? We're learning Chassidus. And, we're looking to all this through concept, and we, this and that, and what Rabbi Hillel said, and the right beer, and you're going to go to soon to the Mittel Rebbe self, and you're working, and you're trying to understand. And all of a sudden, there'll be one moment, be like, oh, I got it. I understand what that means, right? There's this illumination, okay? That Baraka Maverick just literally landed in your right brain, okay? Now, that's a tzimtzum for your Koach HaMaskil, because it could have given you anything, okay? But it was kind of forced to give you that particular thing. Okay, and soon we're going to learn how flash of Chochma actually not a random thing. There's a reason why we get flashes of Chochma, okay? But what is it? So now it has an endless potential, and yet it's choosing one concept. And the choice of that one concept, it's called Hanachas Atzmusay, right here. Hanachas Atzmusay. Why is it? It's anachas atzmusay bichdei lahaskil sechel prati, in order to conceptualize that detailed intellect. Okay, v'chein bekoach HaChochma. Now that was from the side of the mashpia. Mashpia had to condense, because mashpia could give us, in this sense, is Koach HaMaskil. It says, I'm so great, I'm so wonderful, I'm endless. I could give you anything what you want. Okay, but yet on the search bar, you posted what Omek means. What do you think your Koach HaMaskil is going to give? What Malchus means? No, it's going to give you what Omek means. So it's going to give you exactly what you asked for. Okay, amazing. So for Koach HaMaskil, that's a tzimtzum. That's his bittul. We don't think about tzimtzum being a bittul, right? But that's bittul, meaning I removed myself aside, I put myself aside, and now I'm giving this specific thing for that specific makabel. Okay, ubittul. Now, let's go to Chochma. What happens to Chochma? Okay, now Chochma is sitting there, all empty, right? Remember, she had to be empty completely. Okay, and the same thing's supposed to happen to Koach HaChochma that dwells in the right brain, revealed. Remember, again, it's a revealed brain. Is bittul. She has to have bittul. Shimamon, exactly. That's bittul and shimamon. Why? Miyushusay. From its yeshus. Yeshus, it's a clearly defined sense of self. What's yeshus? Yeshus, it doesn't mean ego. Yeshus is a sense of self. Who am I and what am I? Right? Once I have a very identified self of self, it's going to be very hard for me to accept something which is qualitatively different than what I'm used to. Okay? So the minute it's qualitatively different, I have to remove myself from the way I perceive for a moment. It doesn't mean like I'm going to be nothing all the time. No. But for that split second, for something new to emerge from my Koach HaMaskil, I have to remove myself, right? Why is it? For example, I'm putting on my search bar, what is Omek, right? But if my mind is full of ideas, what is Omek means, whatever will come from my Koach HaMaskil will be just confirming what I already know, right? That means I did not remove my yeshus, my self, my sense of self, the way I understand things, right? I didn't remove. Why? Because I already know what Omek is, right? So the question is, why are you putting that on your search bar? You already know what Omek is, so just forget about it, right? Meaning my mashpia and mekabel are going to be in disconnected state. The minute I remove my understanding, right, and I'm putting on my search bar what Omek means, and I really don't mix in the what I know what Omek means at all. I'm keeping that space. Now that space could be filled with a new idea. Okay, so now that's what it means. Shimamon miyushuto v'hakshamasai, and his physicality, shenaaseh al yidei hayigia. Okay, that's done through effort. This is also another very interesting piece of information. Right now, how can I remove myself? How can I lose myself of so-called identity in a good way, right? The way I perceive things, right? It's limited. So how can I remove myself? It's not like I'm going to be sitting and meditating and saying, I'm nothing, I'm nothing, I'm nothing. No, that's not being nothing. What is being nothing is when I actually put an effort to understand. My effort, my yigir to understand, that's what's going to uncover and create that space for it to come in. Okay? And we find sheyesh beis bechinas ayin. And we find that there are two aspects of ayin. Okay? Bechinas ayin de mashpia umekabel. There are two ayins. The ayin of the mashpia, to remove from being unlimited and give something limited. And the mekabel, to remove all the limited stuff and allow for something unlimited to enter. Okay? But ikar hu bechinas ha'ayin shel mekabel. The ikar is the ayin of the mekabel. Okay, interesting why. Shu habitul shebekoach HaChochma. This is the bitul of a Koach HaChochma. Why is it? Let's say Koach HaMaskil is not interested to give. It's not interested. I don't know what it is. We call it shutdown, right? In the modern world, like I just have this shutdown. You work on a project, you're writing your book, and you just can't. It's not flowing. I'm not in a state of flow, right? We use this word. What is a state of flow? Is that when my Koach HaMaskil is constantly flowing and everything else is flowing and beautifully working together, a person is on a shutdown. The mashpia is not giving. However, if there is a bittul on the aspect of the makabel, what we could do, we could awaken mimele ha'ayin of the mashpia. The ayin of the makabel could automatically awaken the ayin of the mashpia, right? And this, what we're saying, doesn't only work in a relationship of Chochma and Koach HaMaskil. It works universally in every mashpia and makabel relationship. Okay, literally, universally. This could be applied to anything. Okay, now, and the bittul of the Koach HaMaskil, me'oyer memale ha'ayin de mashpia, the ayin of the mashpia, shehu hanachas atzmis Koach HaMaskil chulu v'dal, right? Which is what is mashpia of the ayin of the mashpia. It's putting him aside, his essence of the Koach HaMaskil v'dal. Okay, so let's move on with the text. And here, this aspect of the bitul, shebekoach hachochma nikra omek. That's it. Now, this aspect of the bitul of the chochma, it's called omek of the chochma. Okay, so anything that has to do with bitul, of removing the way we see things in whatever level it may be, like in this level, we're talking about the relationship of chochma and koach hamaskil. Soon we're going to talk about the relationship of bina and chochma, right? And in a whole seder ishtalshalos, coming from the level of yachid all the way to the malchus of our world, asiya, we will see the same pattern. Okay, so this is very important to really, digest and integrate. Now, v'hine koach, this is called omek. So this is the next page here, kuf nun aleph. Okay. She'ena mahut chochma. Now, if we're going to analyze, what is bitul of chochma? What is bitul? Bitul is not an entity. It's not like a thing in a map where I could point my finger and say, oh, this is chochma. We can't. In a right brain, there's a lot of space where we could point our finger and say, this is chochma. But when we're talking about ayin of chochma, the omek of chochma, it's not like a specific entity. Klal, and he uses the word klal at all. Rakshua mechaber, but this is only a connecting point of Koach HaMaskil lahavio lidei gilui. What it does, it's a power. What do you mean power? It's a power that creates space within the Chochma that allows the Chochma and Koach HaMaskil to connect. Okay? To bring it to a revealed state. Okay, benevia de chochma. Now, he uses the word here, nevia. Nevia is the literal translation when we're talking about a wellspring, right? In Hebrew, it's such a precise language. Nevia is the first flow of the wellspring. Nevia, how they translate it in English translation? Just wondering. I guess it's another word of revelation, but used specifically for wellspring. When you walk around, I'm coming from Samarkand. When we used to go on trips to the mountains, we saw those wellsprings all over. It's a beautiful sight. You see a wellspring. So the wellspring actually gushing out. It never drizzles. It has like this force that it just gushes out. So this gushing out of the wellspring is the word novea. Okay. So he uses, over here, Nevias the Chochma, right? It's a gushing out of Chochma. And we could see by the Mashal that was given for Chochma is the flash, right, of the barak, of the
Lightning.
The lightning. It's also coming like a gush. It's like it's coming out of nowhere. It has like this force to it. Yeah, it's not just like, a nice river flowing. It has a certain sense of intensity. And people, when we experience insight, nobody just lays down in the bed and says, oh, I just have an insight. Right? That's not this energy, right? When you have an insight, you're like, oh, I have an insight. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there is this sense of intensity there. And that's what Chochma is. It says, Chochma all the time has chayus. Chochma is not like, half dying. No, Chochma has that intensity to it. And that's why people actually could get addicted to it, addicted to this intensity of Chochma. People want to have something new all the time. And why? Because it's a quite intense experience. I guess we could call it a gamma brainwave. It's like when all the things, start resonating in our brain and we got it. Like, yes, it's happening there. And it's a great, intense Onek experience during these flashlights. Okay. And this is the level of Baraka Mavrik canal, as it was explained above. And this Omek, which is called Keter the Chochma, and look what is he doing? He's literally giving you a code. Now we know Maayan of Chochma, it equals to Omek of Chochma, and it equals to the crown of Chochma. So now when you're learning Ma'amarim elsewhere, you'll know that these terms mean exactly what we're just discussing. Okay, so when you see a term Keser of Chochma, you're not going to be like, oh, what is that? You know exactly what it is. This is this power of bittul. Okay, so we have 4 terms meaning exactly the same thing. But human b'tosefes biur, and now we need to have additional explanation. Af al pi mashal gashmi, yeah, through a physical, through the physical mashal. I think what we're going to do is, yeah, I guess you would need to, if you could give like a little overview about this mashal.
Okay. First of all, there's a question
Yeah.
in the chat.
All right. How is the Yiga playing a factor in the bittul? That's an excellent question. And because the way Torah describes bittul, it's a little bit different. And the way, why Torah describes it is because that's how Hashem created the world, right? What is bittul? Bittul is the desire to receive, right? So how can we, I'll give you from a personal experience. I'm running a school and we have teachers, right? We have coming teachers. We have to interact with teachers, very closely because they are the most precious entity that will be able to deliver the ideas and the vision of our school directly to our students. That's why we have teachers. And obviously, the most precious are the students and all that, but they are this connecting point between the vision and the delivery specifically to our students. And we have all kinds of teachers, yeah? And one of the things very important is a humble teacher. Who is a humble teacher? What are the definitions of the humble teacher? A humble teacher is a person who wants to receive. He's interested in the school's vision, right? And not only that, he's actively confirming that the level of teaching and the ways of teaching are actually aligned with the vision. How can you see a teacher like that? Not a teacher who just says that's what it is, But you see that they're moving, they're preparing lesson plans, they're coming over to your office and saying, how can I do this? If this is really aligned, they're actually exceptionally active people, right? And then you see those people who just like, oh, they come to the interview, yeah, and then they just do their own thing, right? And then you need to run after them and say, oh, by the way, we don't do it this way, and you understand what I mean? Now, what is the bittul? Bittul is not actually a passive thing. Bittul is an active thing. We are kind of used to, in the world, to understand that bittul, I just sit and I'm only receiving. But the size of bittul is me wanting to receive, right? Me wanting, that's why I came into this place in the first place, right? Because I'm excited about the vision and I want to make sure that I'm actually implementing the vision, right? So I'm going to be moving, right? It's not a state of freezing. On the contrary, the bittul is an active state of me wanting to shape myself and align myself to this greater vision, right? So that's going to be an active thing. So yigia is actually a proof, an indicator of me wanting to receive. So I don't know if that answers the question. Yeah.
So one of the things that I would say about that is for anybody, when we're learning this kind of Torah, you should know that the effort, the yigia, is what is really important. It almost doesn't matter what level you are on. It's the actual effort that the person puts in to try and understand, to go over things over and over and over again. And then you will see results. It doesn't matter if somebody else is on a higher level than you in terms of the understanding or whatever. But it's really the effort that becomes the most important, because from the effort, you'll see results. Okay, so, we are going to go over this whole Omek of Chochma next week, and it'll give you an opportunity to go over it yourself and to clarify it. But what Reb Hillel does next is he gives us a beautiful mashal, which will take time to think about it. But the mashal is basically, in order for us to understand this process of the Chochma brain receiving from the Koach HaMaskil. The Koach HaMaskil is called the hidden brain, and the Chochma brain is the revealed brain. Now, in this mashal, he uses the mashal of a spring. And if anybody has been into the mountains and seen how a river is born, you will see this water coming out of the ground and creating a spring that if enough water accumulates, it will become a river. Now, what happens with a spring? So you see this water coming up from the ground, and that is the revealed spring. And that's similar to the revealed light in the Chochma brain. But where does it come from? So in the earth, there are what they call Gidim, which are like veins of water that go down into the earth, far down to an aquifer, which is called in Hebrew Tehom. And these veins of water that are going down into the ground are the hidden spring, which is like the hidden brains of the Koach HaMaskil. And then it's sourced in the Tehom, which is like the Koach HaMaskil. So we'll see that these Gidim are really the Omek of Chochma. It's this transition place between the Tehom, which is this large aquifer of water, and the flow into the revealed spring, which is the Chochma brain, which so far we've used the Mashal of the Barak HaMavrik, the flash of lightning. So this is the Mashal that we are given. And I think that it's very beautiful because once again, he's giving us a way of visually understanding something in the world as a mashal for something that is pretty much hidden to us. So that's it, Mila. There's been a request that, Mila, that when you're reading and translating, that you read the Hebrew and then translate it before you explain it, so that we
Okay.
get the pshat.
Sure. Okay, but before I'm gonna do that, this is just like my whiteboard, and I do this, every time when I teach. I'm gonna just draw a very scary picture here, okay, of a skull. Okay, and this is gonna be our right brain. Well, it's on the left for us, but it's actually for the person who is actually, no, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have, our eyes here. All right, this is the nose. I'm sorry, don't get scared. Okay, and, and then we have our, right brain, right? And then we have our left brain, and then we have our back brain, which we can't really see, but we're just gonna do like that. And okay, then we have this chromius, right? This is like a membrane that connects all the brains together. This is called chromium, right? This is the membrane. Now, we're literally speaking about this space. It's actually a very narrow space. Like in between the red and the blue, that green line, yeah? Does that look? Okay, like that, yeah. So this is where the wetness is. So now we pretty much want to understand how the Mashal is, it actually gives the message as Baraka Maverick from this space into our right brain.
And when it can be done?
In about 40 minutes. And okay, now we're going to go into this mashal, right, of that we're going to do, but we're going to come back to it. So this is the ground level. This is like, a little mountain there. And we all know from Chumash that there is something which is called Tehom Rabba, right? When it was, we learned about it in the Sheshes Yemei Bereshis. And there is like this huge aquifer of water all the way beneath. And this is our Tehom. Okay, and this is the earth. And there is a level, right? It's very, it's a layers of the ground here. So what ends up happening is that when a person right here wants to dig, okay, and the digging part is usually, going to use something which is called a shovel, okay, and he's going to start digging. What's going to happen if he's going to start digging? He's going to be digging. What's going to happen is that it's going to create pressure here. So truly, he doesn't have to dig all the way till Tehom. It will be a really far. Okay, I don't think anybody literally were able to dig all the way till Tehom Rabba. It's a lot of digging. But he only needs to begin the digging process. Why? So it's enough pressure is created here in this area, right? Like right here. He's digging right here, only a few inches down, and he continues digging, and maybe, could be, more than a few inches. But there's a pressure is being created here. And that pressure forces this underground rivers to create.
To create or to manifest?
To manifest, to create, actually. There's nothing there. And this is, what tubes, one second, I don't know how to take that off. Okay. Yeah, there's, okay, I'm sorry, I figured it out. Okay, so yes, they're gonna be coming out through this veins, which is called Chochma stima in our Nimshal, right? And I am deliberately putting 2 here, okay? We're gonna learn why. And they're gonna kind of, come up and they're gonna go right like that. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be so much beautiful. Have you ever read that beautiful story about Alter Rebbe and his brother digging a well? Remember, anybody remembers that? It's a beautiful story. I'll share it with you in the chat.
Yes.
So this is basically what happens right here, okay? And the guy is gonna be like, oh my goodness, wow. And that wow, obviously he's not gonna be like digging, and the water comes in. He's like, oh, that's nice. Water is coming. No, the water is gonna literally spritz all around him. And that's called Gilui, the revelation of the wellspring, okay? Now, we're gonna be talking about this. Okay, so we're going to go back to the text, and I just wanted to draw this diagram. So we have 3 entities here. We have Tehom Rabba right here. Okay, then we have these Gidim, these veins that are underground. Nobody sees them, but they were created through the digging process that this guy was digging, through the pressure, okay? And now we have this revealed wellspring that later on is going to turn into a beautiful, beautiful river all the way, to whatever. Now, if we take this and we're going to turn it upside down, okay, this is our Mashal turning into Nimshal of Koach HaMaskil, okay, the level of Pele, this is going to be the Tehom. This is going to be like this big, huge thing. These Gidim are going to be the level of Aleph, and the revelation of this beautiful spring is going to be the revealed Chochma. Okay, let's go. I see we have a question here. It's the pressure of vacuum, both. There's a vacuum and the pressure, the vacuum and everything else forces it all up. Yeah. Sorry. Let me just stop sharing this, and I'm going to share the text. Okay, so we're going, V'yuven b'tosefes bi'ur. Al pi mashal hagashmi. 1 second, what did I just do? Do you see my screen? Yeah? Or no? You do?
Yes.
You do, okay. But for some reason, I cannot annotate. Oh, here we go. I could now. Okay, so we went back for some reason, and okay, we are right here, right after the brackets. ויובן בתוספת ביאור על פי משל גשמי ממעיינות הנובעים בארץ. We will understand this through the physical mashal from the well springs that, again, you see over here, novim is the same as nevia right here. So they are coming forth from the land. Sheyesh bahem beis b'chines, that they have 2 aspects. Ha'alef, gilui hanevia, mikadur haaretz lachutz, shenikra Maayan galui. This is the first level, is what we see after the earth, on top of the earth. It's something revealed to our eye. We see it. We can touch it. We could smell it. We could drink from it. It's there. Okay, v'beis b'chinas gidei haaretz. And the second one is these are the veins, right? This gidim, these pipes inside the earth, be'ara, okay, chaluli mechalala, right? That are coming all the way from below. Shezeu b'chinas Maayan satum. And this is the concealed wellspring, meaning it's already wellspring, but it's concealed. Okay? So there are two aspects, the one that's revealed and the other one that's concealed. V'hu hiskalalus ha'ma'ayan b'makora. This is when the wellspring is yet included in its source. Who is its source? Shehu Tehom, and this is the Tehom. Tehom is that aquifer on the bottom that in the diagram. Because this Tehom is the spiritual. Again, he uses the word spiritual, but it's not actually spiritual. It's physical there, right? But it's more refined. It's a different type of water is there. Okay, and this aquifer is actually dwells in the helem, in the concealment of the ovi kadur haaretz, the inside the earth, basically. Okay, v'hine hagidim halalu, and these gidim kol masha matchilim be'omek yoser bekadur haaretz. Right now, here we go. He says he's revealing a very interesting thing here. That he says the deeper these veins are coming from, what's going to happen? Hu omek rishon shalahem, right? This is from where they're beginning the first omek, meaning how deep are they originating from? Yoser nigle toikef anavia. That's how the wellspring is going to be up there with full force. Meaning, I don't need to know anywhere. I'm just going to go and I'm going to inspect 10 well springs. Which one I know is coming from a deeper place? The one that's gushing the most. Okay? This is how I would know. It says, this is how you would know. The deeper he's coming, the more gushing he's going to be up there. Okay, so I don't need to know anything. Like I don't need to dig to check it. I just could see from what is revealed to my eye, right? But I could already see where it's coming from, right? I'm able to see the depth of it. And he is allowing us to make that assumption. We'll be able to see it in a revealed wellspring. Not only that he is going to have a gush force, but the quality of water is also dependent on it, right? There's going to be mayim chayim yoser. It's going to be more live water, whatever that means. Menukim, and they're also going to be cleaner, mikol sig, from all the impurities, upsolis beyoser. Okay, so there are two indicators of the depth, the omek, where it's coming from, is the power with which it's, springs, and also the quality of water. Okay. V'chein hu b'koach HaChochma, and we see the same in the power of Chochma. Sheyesh bo b'chinas ha'ayin, gilui barak ha'mavrik, hanikra Maayan galui. So now we're going to go to Nimshal, right? In the Chochma is the same thing. The first one is that revelation. Barak is the lightening. It's a revealed revelation. And the base, hitkalalu zeha sechel aprati, k'moy shehu b'tchila lemala mila sechel, hanikra Maayan satum. The second level is how this intellect was yet included in its source, which is called the hidden wellspring. Shezena asal yidei yigia, and that is done through yigia, right? The guy is with a shovel digging. Okay, so this is our yigia. Ki al yidei hayigia b'koach b'kli hamoach, that through the yigia, in the vessel of his brain. Okay, Po'alim b'Koach HaMaskil. Shorish u'makor neviat HaChochma. We are actually activating. Po'alim is the activating thing. We are activating our Koach HaMaskil, which is the root and the source of the Chochma, the revelation of Chochma. V'lachein kol masha habitul b'kli hamoach u'b'toikev yoser. Now, the more vigorously the guy is digging, okay, not just like, one shovel, goes home, sleeps, comes tomorrow, another shovel. No, that's going to take him eternity, right? He has to vigorously dig, so the pressure is created, okay? And the vacuum is there, but the pressure that's going to accumulate, that's going to bring and manifest these gidim. V'lachein kol masha habitul b'kli hamoach. The more bittul he has in his kli hamoach, and he already indicated what bittul means, u'b'toikev yoser, has more strength to it, right? Intensity to it. Okay, sheba mitzad yigia, that comes through the yigia, b'yoser magia ba'atzmis helem koach hamaskil. The more he has activation of the essence of the Koach HaMaskil, Yoser, la'asois bo shorosh u'makor hanevia, l'hanevia, to activate and make it into the root and the source for the Neviah, begilui, in a revealed way. And what happens? It's going to be Chochmais amukais. These are going to be very deep Chochmais, v'rechovis harbe, and they're going to be much wider ones. Umevarerim umenukim, they are going to be already sorted out and clean, and very clean. Menukim me'oid, mikol chelke hataos, from all mistakes, right? Because sometimes we could have a revelation, but when we're going to be checking feasibility of this, whatever it is, then we find out that it's actually a mistaken revelation, and then we have to, redo the whole work again. But if we really vigorously creating that pressure in our brain, the Chochma that's going to reveal itself is going to be the correct one, without mistakes. But al derech Mashal hagidim matchilim, and then it goes back to Mashal, to the Gidim that are beginning on a much deeper level. Remember, the waters are going to be much cleaner, and the force is going to be much more intense. And we're going to talk about why there's a need for intensity and why there's a need for cleanliness. For cleanliness, we understand that we don't have to filter it again, the water that's going to come. It's going to come out filtered already. And Hagidim amatchilim batchilas ovi kadur haaretz, right? The Gidim that begin within the depth of the kadur haaretz. And this is pretty much what it is. And it's beautiful to see that how he moves between the Mashal and the Nimshal, in a way, playing a little bit with our mind to create that flexibility where we could see something in the Mashal and we're able to apply it to the Nimshal, and moving back and forth. Now I see a few questions here. It's the pressure or vacuum, right? Great, clear way of teaching. Thank you. We see yes. Okay, in the picture is Tehom Rabba, the Pele, yes. So now Tehom Rabba is the Pele, and it's beautiful because the level of Pele, it's when it's really endless potential. Aleph already has a shape to it, but it's not revealed yet. It's like a mashal that was given to me by my teacher is when we see a talent, let's say, and we see a child that has a refined ear and they play, they sing with a tune, and we could see that he has a potential to become a musician, but can he really play or sing? Not really, right? So by him exercising and taking music classes and so on and so forth, you know, the potential is there. All what you need to do, it's, you know, just take a little bit from the earth and the water is already there. Now, but does that mean that if a person doesn't have a talent yet to sing, he's like doomed? No. If he does more yigia and really takes classes, and you know there's a ratzon, and he would have to dig much more, but anybody could sing. There's no such a person who cannot sing, that cannot play an instrument, that cannot draw. Anybody could do it. Everybody has the level of talent to within ourselves. It's just not everybody has it already formed in the level of Aleph, the Gidim. Gidim may not necessarily be there. And for some people, it's already open river flowing when they are born, right? They don't have to do anything. They're already, you know, out there with a talent. So, yeah. But this is in a nutshell.
Mila,
Yes.
we're already at 11:22.
I know.
Should we put people into the groups?
I think we need to. Yeah, it is a very long one. I don't think that's probably the longest one. I don't think it ever comes up, but he wanted to really make sure that we understand it. And we're going to put you on in a breakout room. Please discuss it. It's very, very important. Whatever you understood, you know, share it. And we're going to put 3 people, so that would be 6 rooms. No, 5 rooms, I guess. 3 people each. Okay, you'll see
You need to accept
mm-hmm.
to join the breakout room.
Okay, beautiful. Good luck. Please share your beautiful insights.
People not joining? Oh, let me.
Sylvia and Devorah, Elizabeth.
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, it was a very, very interesting point that a girl that participated with her mother brought up, and I would love to hear your take on it. Like you mentioned that sometimes from the digging, we could see the gushing out, yeah? So it could be of understanding and something that, and the clearer it is, it means it comes from a deeper place, and the more intense it is, it comes from a deeper place. But then the girl asked, what about emotions that are all of a sudden coming out? Could that be somehow related as well?
Okay, so that's
That
why it's
sometimes
very important.
deep.
Yeah.
It's a question. I thought to myself,
Yeah.
wow, what an analogy. What is the answer?
Right, so I'll tell you what it is. We are right now talking about intellect, right? A lot of times what there are many similarities of how things come up, but at the moment we are really freezing the whole Seder Ishtalshalos, right? Because it's in a split second from the essence coming to the lowest of the levels. It's like the speed of the light, right? It's even faster than that. Any movement that we make go through the whole Seder Ishtalshalos within us, literally. Now, what we are doing in this class is that we are freezing everything and we're going exceptionally small. We're literally like, you know, when you're looking for your destination in a map, and then the map just, you know, zooms in, and looks at this where you live, right? And it could continue moving. You know what I'm talking about? That experience when you search address in Google Maps?
Sure.
Okay. So the same thing, that's what we're doing. From far, it all looks like, you know, we have brains. But now we're coming closer and closer and closer, and we're zooming in specifically in the relationship of Koach HaMaskil and Chochma, right?
Yeah.
So now we're going to forget about our emotions for a little bit. I know it's hard to do. It's like, but can I apply this to my emotions? Keep that questions until we're going to get to that emotion, right? Because I'll tell you why. We don't want to go there. Why? Because we want to stop our brain from trying to derive a bechein, although it might be exceptionally tempting thing to do. Why? Because it will stop us from understanding this. You know what I mean? Like that
Totally.
reference. Yeah, let's just keep it. It's a beautiful similarity that you brought up. It's different. It's a little bit different when it comes to our emotions from where our seichel works, right? Because our emotions, and I'm going to tell you, explain you why. Let's first just take that, right? We're not going to direct. Our midas are coming from a much higher place than our seichel. We should know that, okay? But right now we are studying the seichel part. So now I don't want to overwhelm you, okay, with all other aspects to it, right? Because we want to stick to the program. And I did not create this program. Rabbi Hillel created that program, right? And he's doing it for a reason, you know, because he's preparing our brain to receive greater things. And that's what a good mashpia does. Good mashpia doesn't just tell you everything, because what's going to happen if I'm trying to force water into a very narrow cup? By the way, it's a beautiful analogy. My whole childhood, we used to go to the mountains, and you see this Maayan gushing, and you're holding your cup right under it. You know what's going to happen? Your cup is going to be empty. Because there's so much force of the Maayan that you could hold for an hour, for a day, for 2 days. And you know what else? If you have a paper cup, American paper cup, it could actually break your cup. That's how strong the force is. So how did we drink when we used to go to all this tiyulim? We would go to the edge of the Maayan, and there's little drippings of water from the force. We would hold our cups there, and then we would drink, right? So this is what we're talking about. You know, when we don't want our Koach HaMaskil to reveal its full force, because we could be in psychiatric unit. Okay, the fact that we're not there and we are here is because there's something which is called filtering, right? Our Koach HaMaskil is going to give us what we ask. In a healthy system, there is something which is called tzimtzum. And if we're not going to have that tzimtzum, we're going to be elsewhere. We're not going to be here. We're going to go insane, right? Because if our keli is not ready to receive something, we don't need to receive it, right? Because it has to be b'oifen hamiskabel, right? It has to be in a way that is going to be received, right? If I'm going to be, swallowing an apple, I'm going to go to the hospital. I need to chew it first, right? I need to chew. And the more I chew it, the more macronutrients are going to be, absorbed by my body. The same thing works in any concept. We don't want to take a chunk of a concept in. Yeah, and right away go and make the yichudim, and what about this and what about that, and then we would need to detoxify our body from this because it's just too much, and then our body will shut down, right? And we don't want to do that, right? We want to take a concept by concept, piece by piece, and it's a big puzzle, but it's going to be, it's going to take time, but we want to put all the pieces together because this is the goal. Right? We don't want to take all the pieces of the puzzle because then we get confused. I don't know if you're into puzzles. I'm not into puzzles. My kids are into puzzles. So I teach them to take one piece and put it where they think it's the best. And then another piece and another piece and so on and so forth. Yeah, but it is a beautiful question. Yeah, Chaya. Yes, Sarah, whatever.
I'd just like to add that this really is the chidush of what we're doing here. Is our tendency is to want to have a way to apply it to our emotional life because we live with our emotions. That's really our primary experience. But what this text is really doing and offering us is to have moach shalit al halev and not the other way around. We usually have our emotions are ruling our mind. That's really what's happening most of the time. And what Reb Hillel is doing here, if you put the effort into really, really learning his Torah, he's reconstituting our brain and strengthening our brain so that we will be able to do Moach Shalit al Halev, that it'll be top down and not bottom up. That's the way that I understand it. So don't be too tempted to make that application, because then once again we learn nothing new. We're learning about here the bitul and the shimamon of the makabel, and part of that is putting aside our current understanding and the way that we function normally and learning something new, actually new. And what that requires is sometimes just staying with the clarity and beauty of what he's saying, just that. And it's something we're not used to, especially as women. We like to, like make connections. And here we want to make connections based on what he's teaching us. And now we're going deeper enough into the text to start making connections in the text, but not taking it down, because we diminish it in a sense.
And then do we cut off emotions as a protection? No, we never cut off. We need to be, I'll tell you what it is. We need to be genuine. And this is something that I will just give you advice. As we go deeper and deeper into learning, right? Things will come up. That's fine. Let them come up, acknowledge them, and let them go. We're not going to be jumping on acting on any of our emotion things. However, we should not be suppressing anything. It's not about suppressing. It's about acknowledging, welcoming them, and just continuing doing the hisbonenus. Hisbonenus will fix everything, because this is a godly intellect. We cannot fix human deficiencies with human intellect. It can't happen. Yeah, we're inviting the godly intellect, which is the ultimate tikkun. And we want to, first take that in. There was a beautiful question came up. How is this connect? I think it was Ilana, right? From Modi'in. Ilana. No, was it Ilana? Naria, who was it? She left probably.
Yeah.
It was Ilana. Yeah. About why are we doing this, and how doing this work of Avodas HaMoichin is actually connected with Eretz Yisrael. She was inspired to join because our ad said that we are protecting the borders of Eretz Yisrael. Now, it's not only protecting, but it's actually expanding. Right? And by expanding, we are ultimately protecting what we already have, right? That's a war strategy. When we want to protect the center, we need to expand and conquer more, so the center is more protected. So I want to just share with you a map of Eretz Yisrael, the way it was promised to Avraham Avinu. Do you see this? Okay, so the prophecy is that, let me just do the annotation so we can see. I know we're far beyond where we should be. It's already 10 to 12, but I'm tempted to do this. You see this in the Har Mitzrayim here? This is the Nilus. In the prophecy, yeah, I know, just give me a few minutes. So in the prophecy, this river will dry out, because this is where Meitzarim are coming from, the limitations. Okay, that's why it's called Nahar Mitzrayim. Since we're going to come into the unlimited state, this river has to physically dry out. Okay, so it's going to dry out, and it's actually happening. They're having a water crisis in these regions. So the prophecy goes from Nahar Pras, right here. You see this beautiful? It's called Nahar Hagadol. Nahar Hagadol right here, Nahar Pras. So from this river until the sea, Nahar Hayam Hagadol, you see here? Yeah, it will be all Jewish. It will be definitely Palestine free, right here. This whole region, this is what biblical Eretz Israel is. Isn't it? It's beautiful. Right here, all the way until the Gulf, the Persian Gulf. It's all Jewish. Isn't it? That's beautiful. Like right here. These are the borders of Eretz Israel. Like this. From here, Nahar Mitzrayim. This is all Jewish. Midbar Sinai, all this is Jewish. Right here. That's it. So keep that in your visualizations, daily visualizations of expanding of Eretz Israel.
Is that why they're
footnote-
saying from the river to the sea? Is that why
Yeah,
they're
literally,
saying from
yeah, from the river, because
Which
they are
river?
singing it to us.
Mama,
The-
can I look a bit?
Yes, they are singing it to us from the river to the sea. And remember the Yosef HaTzadik, what he does, he takes the letters and rearranges them, right? That's how he interprets the dreams. Okay? He is Tofer, Poter, and Pores is the same letters. Okay? So we're going to take
But-
the words of this famous song from the river to the sea. And we actually, this river, it's in our prophecies, right? This is the river of Pras until the sea. And this is actually the words of the prophecy. Okay? And it's right here. I'm going to share this with you. Somebody on, Mashiach group did this beautiful, map with all the, okay? And from the river to the sea. And this is all lands of Keni, Knizi, and Kadmoini, our moichin. Okay, so we need to really turn on our intellect, right? But the pneumius of our intellect and do proper hisboinanos so we can have this harchava. Because right now we are dealing with Meitzar Garon, a narrowness, right? We are fighting over this stupid Gaza Strip, right? And we are in such a small, tiny place right here. This is what current Eretz Israel is. This is Eretz Israel from here until here. Can you believe this? Now, can you see what real Eretz Israel is? It's huge. Right? So we need to expand our cognition. And that's how the Rebbe says in that Sicha of Keni, Knizi, and Kadmoini actually going to become ours. And this is something within our Rishus that we could do it. How it's going to happen, I don't know. Hashem has a plan. We actually make that plan.
So next time maybe, or one of the next times, you can talk to us about what the significance, not this time, of Gaza is in being the Meitzar. Or Aza being the Meitzar, whatever it is, I don't know.
So when our enemies are singing from the river to the sea, it's true. From the river till the sea, it will be Palestine free. That's it. From the from the Nahar Gadol until Yam Gadol. And it's interesting, the wording is Gadol, is big, is great. So we definitely, need to move to, a greater space within ourselves, just to elevate from, and not to think from this Meitzar perspective. And this is what Avodas Hamidus is. Avodas Hamidus is below our throat. The Midas are below our throat.
I think Aza has to do with us, like instead of Azut's Panim, we should have Oz. It's like shifting from negative space to positive boldness.
Okay, great. So this is quite bold, right? This is Eretz Israel.
So every time we see them, we should say, thank you for the amazing prophecy.
Exactly. They are reconfirming the prophecy. We're just rearranging a few words here. And they're actually using the same words, right? We're not changing anything. From the river to the sea, it will be Palestine free. We're just switching.
No, they're saying, Palestine will be free.
I understand, but we're just switching. That's it. Remember, the tikkun it's switching the words. The tikkun is arranged. We're using the same words. We're just switching the order.
What are we switching?
We're switching the order.
It will be free. We don't.
Palestine free.
No, but it's just going to be free. What free means is a matter of interpretation. It will be free. It's no longer
Palestine will be free, but you're just saying it will be Palestine free. You're just switching.
Right. I hear you. Okay.
All meaning changes. That's it.
Right.
We could use the word Palestine. We have no problem there. I think they are the biggest troublemakers there. The rest of the nations will just subdue.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
I know we're way over our time, but Bema, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And we're going to skip a week
Breaking up,
and
Sharon.
come back the week afterwards. And as I said, in Israel, it's going to go back to being 5 o'clock because, you know, you
So
have to-
since we're a powerful group, can we all just sort of paskin that next Purim, we know what's going to be happening? And it doesn't just mean no class. It means what they were planning will happen to them in the most profound way, right? And then it'll be like Hudim Haisar V'Simcha V'Sasan Vikar. But
You
all
know
their
what? I think
plans
it's
will be
already that
fulfilled.
way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amen.
It's already that. It's already LeYehudim Haisar V'Simcha. This is already prophesized and it's already a reality. We just
Okay.
need to, you know, bring our consciousness to this awareness and take it in without any anticipations of anything other than that.
you know,
And I think this is what Malka said. This is our boldness. Boldness is this is the reality. It's just literally accepting that reality without you know, any need for confirmation from anybody else.
without
Okay.
getting too, you know, more political, but and it is not so political, but really, if the Jewish people were united, if there was yichud, the nations of the world would melt away. We wouldn't have problems with the nations of the world. When you know the details inside, you see that we are the ones who are causing splits within ourselves, and it takes from our power.
So I do have an answer to that, if you don't mind, because I just remember when I used to study nutrition in university a million years ago, when they, you know, when they would see that nobody was getting enough vitamin C, they just changed the requirements and they said, everybody's getting as much as they need. So we can just decide, what do you mean? We have unity. When you see two people in Israel fighting, you know, getting out of their cars and fighting, they're just being very brotherly. So we could just decide we all have unity. Instead of saying we need unity, we don't have unity, we all have unity, even, you know, while we disagree. That's called Jewish unity.
Well,
Yeah,
we
that's
have
called-
everything. And this is the beautiful thing, to go back to our Koach HaMaskil, right? Up until I learned about Koach HaMaskil, I always thought that a teacher adds knowledge to a student. After I discovered this piece of Chassidus where, no, we all have everything within us. The teacher only turns on the lights. Okay, so we all have everything within us. Nobody adds anything to anybody. And I heard a beautiful thing about Pikudei and Vayakel and the missing parsha of Dvar Malchus. We all know that the Rebbe said from Vayikra until Vayakel, we have all Dvar Malchus. Parshas Pikudei is missing. We don't have Dvar Malchus in Parshas Pikudei. Interestingly, we also don't have Torah Or on Parshas Pikudei. We don't have. If you look through the whole Torah Or, we don't have Parshas Pikudei there as well. And somebody, you know, brought a very interesting example, because in Parshas Vayakel, the Rebbe said, from the Klal perspective, Geula is already here. But Pikudei is missing, meaning everything what a Melech could have done, saying Dvar Malchus from Vayikra all the way until Vayakel, was already done. Everything what a Melech HaMashiach could have done to bring the Geula and to manifest every aspect, every facet of the Geula from Alter Rebbe until our Rebbe. We see coloration between Torah Or and Dvar Malchus. And in both, interestingly, Parshas Pikudei is missing. Okay, so one of the explanations is that Pikudei are the pratim, the details. Because Parshas Vayakel is, you know, gathering, right? We're gathering as one big cloud, and there it's all good. Everything is beautiful. Geula is already here. But from Pikudei perspective, the details, what we need to do, you know, aligning ourselves with the big cloud, because there's always cloud, prat, and cloud, right? This is the general how we study Torah. We study about the cloud, we go into the detail, and then there's actually a mitzvah bringing this detail back into the cloud and see the bigger picture, right? So now, who is going to bring that prat into the cloud? We need to bring our prat, our detail. We are the prat, right? One little, you know, one little drop in the ocean of all Jews, right? So we need to bring that drop back into the ocean, back into that big cloud that the Rebbe already created for us, okay, and align the Geulah, right? So we need to realign ourselves with that vision of the Geulah. And this is, Pekudah is missing. It's a missing parsha. There's no Dvar Malchus on this. Because what's Dvar Malchus? It's Dvar Malchus, is the word of the king. We need to put this little prat into the words of the king, and probably we're going to hear in, you know, not probably, this is our Geulah. This is us aligning our prat with a big cloud that's happening.
All right. So, Mila, we're now at 12 o'clock. So,
12 o'clock, 12:03. Okay.
12:03. So,
Beautiful.
we look forward to have a wonderful Purim, everybody. Purim Sameach. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Please use this opportunity to, you know, to put in the gear, to put in the effort. As we've
Yeah,
been
and
talking
please
about.
review. Yeah, review.
Because we'll go over this again the next time. We're not going to go on to the next topic because this was a lot. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.